And if you're not in a good place and you're not being consistent, you are going to whiplash your team emotionally on a daily basis. They're not going to know what version you're turning up. They're not going to know if you're actually even going to turn up because you may be exhausted and might like push yourself and then sort of just not show in the office occasionally. Or if you are showing the office, are you like some days in a great mood, some days not? Like that is hard to be around. And if you get yourself stuck in this cycle, like just doing and working, you're not able to take that step back and go, okay, here's the plan for the next month. Here's the plan for the next quarter.
James, thanks for joining the show. You are expert in helping companies scale from, let's say, 1 million to 10 million and beyond. But there are essentially 3 rules that could kill a company. Can you tell us about your framework and tell us about these things that really affect companies that want to scale?
Yeah, sure. I think it all starts with we learn. Yeah, sure. I think it all starts with we learn the wrong rules throughout our career and in the first stage of a business. And actually, the thing is, they're not the wrong rules. They are the right rules in that early stage. The trouble is, once you get through the survival stage of a business and you're into the scaling phase, they can kill both your business and lead to burnout for yourself. And those 3 rules are quite simple. It's kind of do more, go faster, self-sacrifice. And that is the narrative that we hear on LinkedIn. It's the narrative we hear about sort of successful entrepreneurs. It's just like living in the office, sleeping there. And actually, it's not to say that they're wrong. Like when you are in the early stage of business, it really is just how much can you get done? And it is head down, do. The more you do, probably the more likely you'll survive. And that's great. The trouble is when you hit sort of survival phase, when you've gone through the survival phase, you're into the scaling phase, those same habits switch from becoming what I call the survival engine into the burnout engine. Because really the whole challenge, the whole game has changed. And so you're building a team, you're building a company, like your role is changing, what success looks like changing. And it's no longer about those 3 things. And those 3 things, what they really do is just, they force you to spin your wheel quicker and quicker and you're more and more responsive and actually start drifting away from that sort of that growth curve that you want. And you feel like that's the right thing. And you recommit, you double down and go, okay, I'm just going to work even harder. And actually that has less and less impact.
Are there any instances where you've come across a founder who's like never had those problems before? There must be like maybe a lucky guy or a lucky girl, or they just get it right first time, that they start out, they hire the right people, they think about where they want to be in 2-3 years time, they build the business in a way that it can scale and they don't burn out? Or do you think that it's actually people that have quite a few goes, then they kind of learn the hard way?
Well, I think the thing is you almost need to behave like that in the first stage. I think if you shift to what I call the success engine too early and you do like empowerment and through other people and building a team, you don't really have the money or the time to operate like that. So you probably won't build it. You probably won't get through the survival phase. You probably won't survive. Right. And so shifting into the success engine behaviors too early is just as detrimental, because it means that you're probably not going to get to a stage where you can actually start building a team and empowering people and following all these good rules. So I think it's not so much one is bad and one is good. It's just not recognizing that the game changes at this point around about 1 million when you're building that team. That is when you need to become a whole different type of leader and operate differently. And you hear this narrative like sort of, shifting from being a founder to a CEO, and like you hear founders talking about they like being kind of the startup founder as opposed to the scaling founder. Because really what we're talking about is a very different, it's almost like 2 different roles. Yeah. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that. But alongside those 2 different roles comes 2 very different mindsets.
And how long does that survival stage typically last? I mean, on average, of course, it's very difficult to say that for a number of companies, but what do you see as that survival stage being?
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years. Okay. And then there is a stat pretty much, I'm sure there's loads of stats bounding around, but there's like survival rate in year 1, in year 2, in year 3. I'm guessing a lot of companies, unfortunately, don't make it through year 2. Would that be right?
Yeah, I mean, I think most like only 1 in 10 make it past year three.
Only
It's it's
one in
it's a
10 make it past
it,
year three.
it's really low. Like it's
Wow.
much lower than you think. Um, and that's why you do have to kind of go all in. That's why I'm very careful to say, like, it's not to say these behaviors are wrong, and
Yeah.
perhaps they are right in the survival phase. It's just that once you get past that certain stage and you're trying to build a team, you're trying to empower, you've almost earned the right to put your head up and start thinking about what next and how you seize this next opportunity. It requires a different sort of set of rules because you've actually in the second phase you've got almost limitless opportunity, and certainly compared to phase one you've got almost limitless budget. And so what then becomes the challenge is not about this kind of very pure like how do I survive drive, but much like okay, how do I scale, what's next, what's my new game plan, how do I build a team, how do I create space for myself, how do I empower people. It's very different.
How often have you met founders that have been doing these 60-hour work weeks and really are at the end of their tether?
I would say half of my clients, when I first meet them, have got to stage where they're feeling this, and I call it this kind of successful but broken stage, where kind of you've got a business and you look successful, your business successful,
Yeah.
but you're just it just starts to feel unsustainable. And
Right.
in a couple of cases, it's kind of like I've worked with clients who are literally like a week away from walking away from their business.
Oh,
It's kind of
wow.
like just the personal impact of it. It's just like I can't go from 70 hours to 80 hours. And sometimes that comes with like, they see the family impact, sometimes see the personal impact, sometimes it comes through in some like stress responses. But it's just, I mean, obviously what people look before it's got to that stage, but you really can see it once if your response is just to work harder, at some point, just working harder isn't, and it's not working for you. It's kind of like, what do I do now? Like, my business is doing well, but I just cannot keep this going.
Okay, interesting. And then are they part of any team, any wider team, let's say like three founders that have started a business and one who's doing too much and the others are not doing enough, or that's how it feels? Or do you find that you normally the founders are relatively standalone?
I mean, it's great. That is a really great question. I think I see different things, whether it's co-founder teams or solo founder teams. I do think co-founders together can both experience the same thing, like, oh, we pushed ourselves too far. I think solo founders can more easily get themselves into this state because they are more isolated. They just have themselves. They can't really share that with their team. Often you can't share the full extent with your family because it's kind of you they've put up with you going through this stage, and your friends are kind of like, hey, you've got a successful business, what are you complaining about? It's kind of
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
here's the world's smallest violin. um,
Yeah,
but I sometimes I do find with co-founders you get to a stage where actually you're 3 years in, 4 years in, and there's a difference in like one co-founder may retain the appetite and one may not.
right.
And so actually then it's good to just have a conversation and go, okay, let's reset. Let's acknowledge again, we've got through phase one. Do you want to be here for phase two? What's phase two going to take? What are our roles? I mean, and actually the solution for both founder and co-founder is similar, but you just see slight nuances in how it manifests.
Brilliant. Are there any, let's say, case studies, or maybe you don't want to mention any names, but are there any really great examples where you've seen someone like really turn it around, that they came through the door and you thought, this person has got a lot of challenges, a lot on their plate, and they've taken it all in and they've taken it a step back and they've turned it around?
Yeah, I mean, I think quite a few. Like I think of uh, one of my clients in particular. I mean, literally, they were like a week away from stepping away from their business. It's like this was having personal consequences. Like they were feeling stressed, they were feeling anxious. It was fundamentally a good business. Like it was profitable, it was growing, had a good team size, had some good people around him. But as he was pushing harder and harder, he was feeling more and more isolated in this as well, and was starting to feel like there was something wrong with what he was, both him as a sort of founder, because it felt like it shouldn't feel this hard, and sometimes like, oh, it should feel this hard. I'm just not. Why can't I push through this?
Right.
Like, because there's this real sense of kind of like, and I think it takes from sport and just through that, like, if it's not hurting, I'm not working hard enough,
Okay.
which feels like a very masochistic sort of attitude, but is one that subconsciously often sits with us. And so step one, I think, was just listening, having someone to listen and just go, okay, this is how I'm feeling, just getting it all out. I think sharing this concept, just going, yes, okay, let's acknowledge actually you are already successful. Like, you have built a business. Like, you have not yet built the business that you'd like to build, but
Yeah.
you've still survived. You've got to year 3.
Yeah.
You're over $1 million in revenue. You've got a team. You are already a success. Like, yes, you're not a 100 million exit success, but building a 1 million business is you're already a highly successful founder. Let's just
Yeah.
acknowledge that before we sort of you beat yourself up too much. And then let's acknowledge actually you're not alone. This is not a you problem. This is just a systemic problem. You're through the survival stage. Now it's a scaling stage. Let's look what that can look like, and let's just rebuild sort of your habits. Let's rebuild your mindset. And what I found is even just, let's say with him, quite quickly, just this acceptance that was a new stage, acceptance that actually these rules might not serve him anymore. I mean, so we shift the rules from like go faster to go slow, get there faster, to do more, to do less but achieve more, and from self-sacrifice to prioritize self for greater impact, and do sort of exercises around each of those 3 areas. Very quickly saw a change of energy, sort of created a simpler plan, and you could just see that confidence building week by week. And in the space of 3 months, like, the team noticed the difference. He saw greater business result, and more he was enjoying it again because we redefined what his role looked like. We redefined what success looked like.
That's a really valid point. I think if founders are not careful, the team will feed off them, right? They'll notice the energy levels. They'll notice the stress levels. They'll detect some aggravation or some maybe, they've got less patience, etc. So the team feed off that. And if your team isn't really engaged in the goal of the business or what needs to be done and where they're heading, that's pretty dangerous, right?
Yeah, well, I would say a big part of your role in this scaling phase as a founder is to be the emotional center of your business. And if you're not in a good place and you're not being consistent, you are going to whiplash your team emotionally on a daily basis. They're not going to know what version you're turning up. They're not going to know if you're actually even going to turn up because you may be exhausted and might like push yourself and then sort of just not show in the office occasionally. Or if you are showing the office, are you like some days in a great mood, some days not? Like, that is hard to be around. And if you get yourself stuck in this cycle, like just doing and working, you're not able to take that step back and go, okay, here's the plan for next month. Here's the plan for next quarter. And that without that, your team are not empowered to do their jobs. And so if they're stuck in the cycle of responding to your mood, responding to your whim, responding to ideas, what's the latest great idea to try and get out of this kind of funk?
Right, yeah.
That is not a great place to be.
Yeah.
Where suddenly you shift into this sense of, okay, calmness, acceptance, this is the plan, I'm in a better place. Your team experiences a radically different version of you and suddenly are able to do their jobs again properly, which again then helps your mood because you get a sense of progress. And so it actually very quickly becomes this kind of positive spiral of reaction. Like, you feel better, they do better, you feel better, they do better.
Future Fast is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
Right, yeah. The positive flywheel in a way, right? I mean, to borrow from a marketing term of the flywheel, or even one that basically HubSpot acclaimed, it is that, isn't it? And there'll always be things flying at you, but as long as you keep the positivity going and you're focusing on the main goals, that is really crucial. Yeah. And when you chat to these founders, where do you see that they're ready to take the leap, or what? Where do you see that there's resistance? Are there any like key things that you pick up on there?
Yeah, I would say that if founders come and they're already in that state of pain, there's less resistance because it's just like okay, I'm willing to try anything at this stage. Like I know this is not working. It's almost like the further down that kind of successful but broken path they've gone, the easier it is to have that conversation. But I do find with some founders, they come with the very much like practicing, oh, I need help with my time management or something. And often that is not the problem. It is just a symptom. Like people say, oh, I need better time management. And actually we think that's the thing we're always asking when we're more junior. It's like, how do I get better at doing this list of tasks? But as you move into the scaling phase, that is not the issue because you could fill up your task list 100 times over, 1,000 times over. It much more comes around like, should I be doing in the first place? So I think it can take time to get to some of this kind of more personal stuff. Some of what coaches could call like deep work, because founders may not be ready for it. They may think it's just like, oh, if I just tweak my sales strategy, that's when I just need to get better at communication, or I need to get better at some management skills. That is probably true, but that's often just a surface thing. And actually, this is why it's good to work with a coach. When I was a founder, I worked with my coach for 5 years because you build trust, you build shorthand, and actually, there's a lot to uncover. By the time we become founders, we've got kind of 30, 35, like a lot of years of habits baked in already.
Yeah, big time.
And we've seen success from them. Doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to make successful in the next stage. Or it can be like, they can be very negative drivers of success. So like fear, anxiety, low self-esteem. They can be quite effective things to make us work very hard. Probably not great things to build our life around in terms of a fuel to use if we're trying to sort of create healthy relationships with our team, with our partners, and have an enjoyable life.
We had a fantastic podcast with Adrian Kingwell from Mission Group earlier on in the series, and he said, and he's coming at it from a founder perspective where he started up an agency which was acquired by the Mission Group. And he likened it to playing tennis. If you want to improve your tennis game, you're going to go and get a coach, right? If you play every weekend and you want to beat your next door neighbor or whoever who you play with who's actually pretty good, and you want to grovel in the bar afterwards that you've finally beaten them, you need a coach. And there seems to be a resistance in the founder space in the business world to get a coach because it's often seen as a sign of weakness. Would you generally agree with that statement?
I definitely agree with the statement that you sort of have a coach. I think there is resistance sometimes. I think less and less. Like I think, like in the US, there's no resistance. Kind of like just standard. Like
it's just standard.
Whereas in the UK, it's definitely behind that. But I think I've definitely seen it change in the last 5 years. And I think maybe the part of this is a misconception. So let's say a tennis coach often is there to train you.
Yeah.
Whereas a business coach is largely there to empower you to be a better version of yourself. So I suppose it's the same language, same name, but it's done slightly differently. Although as a coach, you do bring in skills and you do bring stuff. So it is comparable. Like I have a PT because I want to improve my physical performance. I had a running coach when I was training. When I was a founder, I had a coach.
Yeah.
Now as a coach, I have a coach.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So I'm a great believer in it because actually just having someone external to you who can reflect back, can share stuff. And more than anything else, I think as a founder, you are very isolated because as we talked before, like no one can really understand you. Like, and also you have very few peer relationships. Knowing your business, because I've got open door policy, anyone can challenge me in my team. It's like if you can fire someone, they probably can't challenge you to the level that you want. Like if you really make your opinion clear, they're not going to push it. And so actually having that space just for you, where a peer-to-peer space just for you, where you can really like explore what the best version of you looks like, share things that maybe you wouldn't say to other people. I mean, I've had people say some amazing things to me in session. Like, I've never said that to anyone else before. Just because it is that kind of space, it's kind of like, I will understand, there's no judgment. And you need to have those conversations to really dig out like how you're feeling and in order to get better.
Where do founders then generally start? So they come to you, they can see that they've got some problems they need to solve. They want to take the business to the next level. How does the process normally begin?
So it's the easiest place to start is a 3-month program, because I think you need a certain period of time just to get going. So I would say, and that's normally a 6 sessions over 3 months. And the first session is just almost like a stream of consciousness download.
Right.
It's like I haven't really got any of the stuff out, just a space just to get it all out. And I know I made that really explicit when I speak to clients before we start, because I had so many clients apologize to me at the end of the first session. Oh, sorry, I've just talked so much. Because often as founders, we're there giving support to other people, not getting it ourselves. And then it's about agreeing, trying to really uncover in that first session, what is the underlying thing that we really want to solve in this first 3 months? And sometimes that's sort of clarity in terms of, I'm not sure where to go. And sometimes that's I just feel a bit stuck. I might be overwhelmed, I might be exhausted, whatever it is, and I'm just stuck. So actually what you really want to do is build that credibility and trust and sort of relationship in the first 3 months and solve the big thing, the big underlying thing that's beneath the surface that maybe you haven't had time to identify. And it's probably not time management. It's probably not this thing that you think it is. There's probably something deeper underneath it. And it's just uncovering what that is first and solving that has a massive impact, because then you start working on the next thing. And it's a bit of a trick. It is a bit like peeling an onion. Like you solve the first bit, and it uncovers more and more. I had one client come to me and he was like, "Oh, I'm just really stressed. I want to work on my stress levels because I've got this eye twitch and I've got a baby and I feel I'm working too hard and I need to really be present." And so you think, "Oh, what's the issue there?" It turned out the issue was he didn't believe in his own sales strategy, his own commercial strategy.
Right.
Because they were targeting 2 small businesses. He built a team around that. It wasn't getting the results. They were going to, So it turned out the thing that was causing the eye twitch really ultimately was the fact that he needs to shift his commercial strategy. He figured that out, did that. He then rebuilt his team, and then he won he 10x'd his sales over the next quarter because he suddenly landed his biggest ever client. And that shift suddenly reduced his stress levels, created more time, because suddenly he believed in strategy, he believed in his team. It all connected. And so you go, so as we're saying, the problem isn't always necessarily what you think the problem is. Yes, he was working too hard, but why was he working too hard? I mean, yes, he was stressed, but it wasn't just because he had just had a kid. This is why I think you need to come at it from a very the personal and the business, because the problem that you think is the problem is often not the problem.
Brilliant. It's all about getting down to that root cause. That's fantastic. So it all starts with a twitch, right? And then you drill down, what is the real reason for that stressful twitch? And I've been a founder and running a business while having a young family as well. And I can tell you that definitely would make you suffer from some stress and twitch. James, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. Where can people find you?
So you might see find me on my website, so peer-effect.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I mean, there are a lot of James Johnsons on LinkedIn, so you might do James Johnson Peer Effect to find me. But probably the best place is to reach out through the website.
Yeah, Peer Effect, or it's James W.G. Johnson with a H on LinkedIn. You've got a nice URL there.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.